It's 6:30 p.m. and if you would stand with me for the pledge, please.
Crazy.
Flag in back.
Calm me down.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Hopefully soon.
All right, welcome to the May edition of the Winooski School Board monthly meetings. Tori, if you would, get us oriented for the evening.
Centered on what we do here together. All right, everybody, just find a nice, comfortable seat. And we are going to arrive to this place. So take a deep breath in. And breathe out. And another strong breath in. And out. And as you breathe in, I want you to feel your feet on the ground, which means you're stretching yourself up. Down and up, and then breathe out for a little relaxation. And we're just going to take in being here, coming from where we come from, and center ourselves on what we're here to do together. Breathe into that. We are here to govern for the best interest of our whole Winooski community. We're here to send gratitude for the votes for the children and for our kids and for our community in favor of strengthening our school and what we do for our youth, as well as what we do for our community and our democracy. So breathe in. And out. We breathe in. Now we come out to work together.
Always a good orientation. Agenda review and adjustments. I do have one ad. It's another teacher nomination. I believe you have in front of you the nomination. We're going to add it to section 7 with the executive limitations. Anybody else? Any other adjustments, changes, modifications? Okay. At that, Sean, I'll turn it over to you for the intro.
And I'm going to turn it over to Kirsten Colgard, our Director of ELL and Curriculum, who's going to introduce our esteemed presenter tonight.
Hi, everybody.
Hey, Kirsten.
Nice to see you again. So this month, Tul Narola, our Bhutanese Nepali liaison, is going to be presenting. Tul's been with us for 6 years. I was just asking him because I thought it had been way longer.
You too, I hope.
Yeah.
He, again, I know I mentioned with Lily that he had a pretty big caseload. Tul also has about 130 right now, say 130 students on his caseload, supporting all those families, so that's a lot. So in the future, we're looking for ways that we can, support our students and staff with more liaison positions, so I just have to give that plug. But one special thing I wanted to tell you about Tul tonight, the bond vote, you all did an amazing job and amazing work getting out in the community, and Tul did as well.
Yes, thank you very much.
He went above and beyond. He had about 25 Nepali community members in for a tour and meeting with Sean to learn about the project, and then he helped a lot of new Nepali citizens register to vote, explain that process to them, get them to early voting, walk them through the whole process. And one thing that was really powerful that he told me today was how for so many of them it was their first time voting, or they were very fearful to go and vote because when they voted in the past in Bhutan, that was one of the rights that was taken away from them and something they got in trouble and sometimes jailed when they tried to do. So that was just really powerful to think about, that like so many of our community members were able to, take that that right and use it yesterday.
The things we take for granted and the things we don't use
Right.
and utilize as a full society.
And I want to say, being out there yesterday, getting to see some of those community members, probably one of the most touching things I can honestly say. Watching them come out and vote and be supportive of the community and seeing that, it was definitely the highlight. You know, it was a rough day at times, but at that as you can tell, I'm getting still emotional about it because this is what's right about Winooski. And so I say thank you, and thank you to those that
That's our thanks to them
did that.
for taking the initiative up front to do the citizenship thing. That's a lot of work and takes a lot of energy, and then to actually come out, we greatly appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, welcome.
All right, cool.
Okay. Namaste and welcome to my presentation. My name is Tul Nirola. I'm a Bhutanese Nepali home school liaison for the Winooski School District. As already Kirsten mentioned, I have been working here since 6 years. Today I'll be taking you to Bhutan, a small country, and I know like within a very short period of time, I'll not be able to finish all the culture and history and geography of all these things, but I'll try to give some information so that you know what is happening in our culture and in our country. Bhutan is a very small country. As you compare Bhutan to our state, Vermont, it's a little bigger than Vermont. And this country, Bhutan, lies between very big countries like China and India. Bhutan, in the Bhutanese language, that is Dzongkha, is called Druk. Druk means dragon. So Bhutan is also called the land of thunder dragon. And that is why you can see a dragon on the map of Bhutan. So it has an area of 38,394 square kilometer. So China and India, these are the big giant countries. And in between those two countries lies Bhutan. Thimphu is the capital of Bhutan. And we have a very, I should say, is a less populated country, 708,000. I think this was the estimated population at the time of when there was a problem. Now, still, the present population now in Bhutan is around like 800,000. And the language is spoken in our country, Dzongkha, that is the national language. Nepali, the southern Bhutanese, they speak Nepali language. Sarchop, the eastern Bhutanese, and Kheng, this is a language spoken in the central part of Bhutan. So at our time, there was a constitutional monarchy, so the power is all in the hand of king. People in Bhutan, like US, is a people of all immigrants. Like even Bhutan also, people, a lot of immigrants. The indigenous people are Doyas and Totas. They are very less in number, even not in 1%, and mostly they are the tribal people. But the immigrants, Ngalung, they migrated from Tibet, and they are the ruling people, and the king belonged to that Ngalung group. Khengpas, these are the central Bhutanese people. They also migrated from Tibet. Sarchop, these are the people from eastern part of Bhutan. They migrated from India. And Los Hampas, they are southern Bhutanese, and we are Nepali, are called Los Hampas in Bhutan. So we migrated from Nepal. So I will straight away go to the eviction policy. This is through the government of Bhutan, how we are displaced from our country. The eviction policy particularly started during the rule of King Jigme Singye Wangchuk, that is the fourth king of Bhutan. So now is the fifth king of Bhutan, so his father was there. So he started a slogan, one nation, one people. And in 1988, the government of Bhutan held a census and categorized the low Sampas. They categorized only the southern Bhutanese, not the northern and central, nor the eastern Bhutanese. Low Sampas are the Nepalese group into 7 groups, and the members of the same family were segregated into F1 to F7. I'll just explain what are the categorization. Next slide, I think it will come. And this is the Bhutanese dress. The main problem of the southern Bhutanese is this dress also. We were asked to wear this dress, even at the local places, going to the office, at home, anywhere. If you do not wear this dress, you will be fined, you will be put in the prison. So the Citizenship Act of 1985, and they did the census drive, and people are categorized into F1 to F7. So F1, the government of Bhutan considered they are the genuine Bhutanese. F2 is returned migrants. Once they migrated to Bhutan, again went back, again they came back to Bhutan. And F3, people not available during the census. F4 and F5, like both of them are like a non-national woman married to a Bhutanese man. This means a man is a Bhutanese guy and the lady or the woman is from India or Nepal. The same way, F5, a national man married to a Bhutanese woman, a non-national man married to a Bhutanese woman, and F6, children legally adopted, they are under F6. And F7, non-nationals, migrants, and illegal settlers. So many Bhutanese refugees are categorized to F7. Although they have the citizenship in hand, they have actually the government provided citizenship to all the people, and it was a red color red book, and that's the citizenship. Many people they still have now in their homes. Even I have one at home, but they categorize us, many of us, at F7. Government banned watching TV, so there were no national TV. Watching TV channels from India and Bangladesh was banned, and TV stayed idle at home. The government censored the radios at home, asked the people to have a license for it. I still remember, like, my father had a 4-band radio, so we need to go and make a license for it. The government thought that the people would learn about the human rights and political things from the media. So the king blamed it for destroying family life and bringing crime in the country. So this slide, these are like the voice of Los Sampas for equal rights. What we did in the country for the equal rights. Lots of discrimination and injustice were done to Southern Bhutanese, and we felt that human rights are violated by the king. So we filed. People came together and we filed a petition for equal rights throughout the country. When petitions were turned down, we held a peaceful demonstration in the street asking for human rights and to establish democracy in the country. After that, what happened? The government shut down all the schools. The first thing they did that, shut down all the schools and turned the school into prison. All the important members of our community, like who were in favor of asking human rights and asking for democracy, were put in prison, irrespective of their age. And many of them were brutally tortured, and they are compelled to sign a voluntary migration form promising to leave the country along with the family members. There were several rape cases of innocent Nepalese women by Drukpa soldiers. So I explained to you, Druk is a country, so Drukpa, the country's soldiers. So the soldiers were many from northern Bhutanese and from the eastern and central Bhutanese. So the patrolling soldiers deliberately shot many innocent Nepali men dead on charges of participating in the demonstration, the peaceful demonstration. They labeled this man as anti-national elements and terrorists, and killed many, and justify saying that this incident happened in encounters. Insecurity led the southern Bhutanese to flee the country or to sign a voluntary migration form. First thing, since India was very close to our country, so we fled to India, and then from India we were taken to Nepal. So there were no Bhutanese refugee camp in India. Different people, like different Bhutanese, Nepali living here in Burma or any part of the world, they have their own story. So I have my own story, why I became a refugee. All those things like categorization and all those things are there, but still I have another story to tell you. So in this photo, like a priest sitting, so actually my dad was a priest, a Hindu priest. This is not my dad's photo, but still. And then my dad was wearing this kind of dress. He was working in the temple. He was going to different places, different homes to perform pujas, worshiping God and prayer service. So Jongda, he is a district head. He's called Jongda. So Jongda called him and asked him to wear the Bhutanese dress. So my father said, I am a priest, I am a Hindu priest, I cannot wear that dress. Second time he was caught by the police, taken to the jail, and then they forced him to wear this dress. He also denied, he doesn't wear this dress. And I think third time, again, he was asked to pay the fine, and then after that he left the country. He came to Nepal, he started working in the temple there in Nepal. He was a priest, he knows many things about worshipping and all those things. He was really experienced. So he got a job in Nepal. So families are dragged to the office, to the Jongda office. Every day, police or the army people, they used to go to my house, and we were called to the Jongda office, and the Jongda and the official asked us, where is the dad? Bring your dad. So I was unable to find dad. So, and then after a few days, when army and police, when they came to my house, they, with the gunpoint, they said, if you do not bring your dad within this many days, you will be killed. So my brother started packing, everybody crying, and then
Winooski selected to have.
Yes, we are. Take your time.
Yes.
And then I left the country. I know, like, everybody has hopes and dreams to become something in the country, and leaving all the property, you have nothing in the hand, just walk, come to the border, and people dump in on the truck and come to Nepal. Staying in the camp was not easy. It was really difficult. And then we became refugees. In 1989 onward, Nepali-speaking Bhutanese were expelled from the country. Over 108,000 people, Bhutanese people, took refuge in 7 different camps of Nepal. That is in the eastern part of Nepal. I think it is around like 10 hours drive from Kathmandu. Refugee camps in Nepal are overseen and aided by UNHCR, United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees, and other donor countries and agencies. So this is the photo of the Bhutanese Nepali Bhutanese refugee camp, and that was a little bit well established. And this is the map of southeastern part of Nepal, and all the 7 camps are located in that area. Now the Bhutan government, they talk about national gross happiness that was enacted in, I think, July 2008. It includes an index which is used to measure the collective happiness and well-being of a population in Bhutan. The government of Bhutan talked about gross national happiness at UN and other Asian and European conferences at many places, and they claim to be the happiest people. So all the Bhutanese refugees who all are settled in here and different countries, why? We ask that question, why is considered as the happiest country? Lots of discrimination still exists in Bhutan. And refugee crisis still 6,000 to 7,000 people still in the camps in Nepal. Why all these refugees choose third country resettlement? 18 rounds of bilateral talks between Bhutan and Nepal failed to solve the refugee crisis. The government of Nepal tried several times. Nepalese government refused local integration. Nepal is a very poor country. They have a lot of people without property and many people under the poverty line, so they cannot give us the citizenship. Insecurity, both inside and outside the camp. Locals mistreat refugees, and more than 2 decades in the camp. I think I lived there in the camp for 22 years. And refugees need for home, stability, and citizenship. So these are the data I collected last year. I didn't find the recent one. So Bhutanese refugees have been permanently resettled in 8 countries. US has the largest number, 84,819, Canada 6,500, UK 358, Norway 566, Netherlands 327, Denmark 874, Australia 5,554, and New Zealand 1,002. I'm just going to talk about the education system in the camp. Almost the education system in the camp and the education system in Bhutan, it was quite the curriculum is similar. Only the difference is the school building and the teaching materials, and also lack of good teachers. So after 2 years of establishment of the camps, schools were established. All the schooling is in English medium, the British English we followed. At the age of 3 to 4, children attend preschool, and after 6 years of age, they go through NAEP system till grade 10. Grade 3rd. NAEP is a new approach to primary education that was initiated by the Caritas, that is the NGOs, funded the education system. And schooling in the camp run up to grade 10. After that, they go for +2 outside the school, and then college. Subjects included are science, mathematics, social studies, Nepali, history, geography, economics, education, accounting, English. The school lack resources and teaching materials. Students themselves manage for higher studies after that. And some of them got scholarship to go India for higher studies. I was one of the teachers there. First one, I started teaching in the camp. That was the situation like teaching students under the tree. And after a few months, school building was built with bamboos and with the roof. It's kind of thatch roof or sometimes like a metal roof in some camps. Education system, like when I have the experience like talking to the people and what people say about the education system or in US, many parents, they get confused about the education system in US because we come through a British system and books. There were no technology and nothing. So parents don't see the books at home. Like children are not doing work on the paper or on a notebook. Language to communicate is the biggest problem. Many parents, they don't speak English. Understanding the grading system for parents is really very difficult for them to understand because we get the marking system over there in Nepal and in the camp and also in Bhutan. Like we start marking from 1 to 100%. High school graduation expectation, people don't understand. Still, like we try to make them understand, but people still they have questions about that. And also the proficiency-based system. And people think like why homework is not given to our elementary students. And technology is playing a bigger role here in the US. We also tried our parents to learn the technology and how to go through the web to school, check their grading system and whether their children are coming to school or not. And finding college and financial assistance is really difficult for them. People are confused about those things. So cultural practices. Namaste is the highest form of greeting we do every day. People hold their palm together to greet each other. And sometimes people bow their head also in respect. And the ladies go to their husband's house and take care of their husband's family after marriage. Main festivals we celebrate every year, Dasai, Tihar and Losar. And also we celebrate other festivals like Teej and Holi. Hindus worship cow as a mother goddess. So many Hindus, most of the Hindus, they don't eat beef. Teachers, elders and seniors are highly respected in our community. Name protocol, addressing seniors, elders with their name is considered rude. Sometimes it happens like we ask name to elderly people and start calling them by name, and that's quite rude in our community. Instead of like, even teachers when they say like, sometimes I need to say this is Sugam's dad. Instead of calling Tara, this is Sugam's dad. Touching feet of parents and gurus is the highest form of respect. Dakshina is a monetary gift to juniors is okay, and receiving and giving gift is common practice. Personal affection is not common in public. The left hand, using left hand to give away something or handshaking is rude. Handshaking with the right is okay. Guest, we have a word called, phrase called Atiti Deva Bhava, which means guest is the other form of God. So whenever you go to a Nepalese house, they always try to feed you. And it is customary to feed visitors when they come to our house. People love music, singing and dancing. Even we have different cultural programs. Even in the school also we had, I think, 1 or 2. We had a different cultural program in Burlington, and we have some programs at the AALV also. And also at worshiping, at the temple also, there's a small temple at VRRP, Burman Hindu temple. There also we do singing and dancing. So we dance and sing for different theme and different occasions. And the biggest one is Tees. Last year I celebrated Tees in my house, and some teachers I invited, and they came, and the dancing was the main theme on Tees. Challenges in the US. The most important is the language barrier. Most Bhutanese don't speak English. Challenge to find jobs for those with limited or no English. Cold and long winter in Vermont. It's for everyone, not only for me, for us. Most Bhutanese lack technical skills needed in workforce. Older population feel isolated and bored because they're mostly home. Power shift is a major problem among the uneducated Bhutanese population living in Vermont. This is like parents depend upon their children for all the official paperwork, newsletters, or any other letters they receive. And this led to an inferior feeling among the parents of the Bhutanese community, and parents find really hard to control their children. Corporal punishment is not allowed in the US. So one way of controlling our children back in camp or in Nepal was beating them with a stick. So this is not allowed here. Lack of good teachers in the camp when teachers are resettled in other countries. So I believe the students resettled after 2013 have a lot of problem in their academic learning and may not have good English. So when the camp is resettled, like people started resettling in the different countries, so there were no teachers in the school in camps. So students go to the school, few teachers, and come back home. And I know to resettle so many people, I think it took around like, they started I think 2008 and still it's going on. I think it stopped in last year, like few years. Suicidal rate among the Bhutanese community is higher in the US. So many people are very, very surprised like why the things are happening. In Vermont also, 3 cases of suicidal thing, and then I think one is the mental thing. It happened in Vermont also, but it has happened in many places in US. I have heard about one person in Netherlands also did the same thing. So this is growing, so we don't know what is the main reason for doing that. There has been counseling and so many things going on, but still people are falling in that category. Like suicidal is really, rate is really high. How can we better support the Bhutanese community? I know a lot of things are being done, and we get support from the school, African AALB, and Centerpoint, Howard Center, VRRP. I know Winooski School have home school liaisons to help out the family. We have a lot of informational classes. We do PEP class, technology class for the parents. And through Association of Africans Living in Vermont, they provide interpreter for hospital visit and other places like court and other places. And they also help people for paperwork for Medicaid, food stamps, and citizenship. Connecting Cultures, Centerpoint, and Howard Center, I think they provide counseling if needed for the people. Vermont Refugee Resettlement Program, they resettle the Bhutanese, not only Bhutanese refugees, but they also provide services like English language class, citizenship classes, and they also provide interpreters. If our people get engaged in all the activities, I don't think they will be thinking something negative for their life, or they don't have time to think all those things. So I think they should be engaged with through like senior centers also is a place for them to be engaged with some activities. We have Vermont Hindu Temple at AALV, and we are looking for a space and also looking for funding to build temple. And also people get engaged with the community garden in summertime. This is really good things people do. They come together, talk, especially the older and isolated people and people having language problem. People also face problem with the permit tests and driving class. I sometimes take people for permit tests and also help them go to VSAC to fill out a form to go for a driving class. Transportation for students. I think parents in Youth for Change, they work really hard, and at least we got some winter transportation pilot project that's working, but parents still want like throughout the year. And join the community to celebrate festivals like Teej and Holi. We also welcome you all people to join, like when we have a big celebration like Holi and Teej. I think few months ago, we celebrated Holi. There's a festival of color at the Burlington City Hall. Many people gathered there, and I know some white guys were just looking, and then they came to me, and then, can we join you? And then I said, yes, you are welcome. If you don't have problem putting colors on your hair everywhere. So they came. And thank you, and dhanyavad. Do you have anything to ask? I know so many things happen, emotional things happen. Yeah.
We tend to have that here sometimes. It's all good.
Yeah.
Everybody want to start?
And you answered, the one question I had was about Bhutan's gross national happiness quotient and the tension between pushing people out and having this way of measuring things. So are the refugee camps almost empty in Nepal? Have they?
Yeah, actually, around 700,000 at, like when I was there, 700,000. So out of those, like 300,000 were Southern Bhutanese, the Nepalese. And 300,000 were Sarsop, Kengpa, and the Ngalung. Ngalung is the ruling class. So nearly like half the population were Nepalese. So actually, at the time of second king, I think, the king of Bhutan asked the king of Nepal, and then they signed some papers and asked him to send like 40 families to Nepal. So the 40 families they migrated to Bhutan from Nepal, and then their relatives migrated, and their relatives migrated, so it became a big number. And then the gross national happiness, I think that was the idea enacted, I think, in 2008, but the refugees were in the camp from 1989. So 89, 1991, 92, until 92, the flow of refugees was there from Bhutan to Nepal, and again it stopped. All the different NGOs, Amnesty International, Red Cross, they went and asked the government of Bhutan, because Bhutan also was an added country, like they get a lot of help from different agencies in Bhutan. So when they question about why people are displaced from your country, why people are expelled from this country, and then the government stops sending the Bhutanese, the southern Bhutanese, from the country. So I hope that.
And then I have a whopping copy change, because I was interested, I was also thinking when you were talking about the elders being isolated,
Yes.
about that connection with the senior center. Is that happening? Is there something we can do to help bridge elders to be able to come together?
Yes, senior center, like I know some elders, like ride is the biggest problem, and then some people are doing, like going and getting the elders and bringing them to the senior center. But I don't think it's like, it has been like constant. Yeah. So,
I think like Barb Pavito, you know her, she runs the senior center. She was telling me that I think every Friday this winter, because we did one, we always, the middle high school ELL program always hosts an international luncheon on a Friday, but she said this year, in addition, they've been having Friday lunches that they actually hired a Bhutanese Nepali chef to cook some meals. And so like seniors have been coming, but I know it's still, it's a good number. They get a lot of seniors out, but there's still a lot who don't have rides, don't have access.
There's still a lot of things that could happen to
Right.
to increase that. Okay.
is there any question?
Yeah, I had one other one. I know with I think our first one with Dalib, one of the comments I think he made was that sometimes the elders are getting a little frustrated that the kids leave the school and they don't quite have the skills that the parents believe they need to do well in their new community. How would you relate that to your community?
Yeah, people when they are resettled from Nepal, the first thing that struck their mind was, my children will get the best education. But the problem they are facing now is technology is one thing, because they are in the camp, nothing was there. They got like too much attracted and addicted to the technology. I know our children like playing too much games on the computer. And parents, they don't have any idea of controlling the internet at house. That's the biggest problem. And I know like, I think now we're not having problem of high school dropouts. I think few years we have few high school dropouts. That's because of the language, and also because some parents not able to manage to pay the rent, and not able to manage. And also the VRRP encourages especially the adult student to find a job. And they left high school and started working.
Mike, your question was it about because of sometimes the ages that they're coming in, that we just matriculate them and graduate them according to their age versus the
Yeah, that was
education piece?
part of it. I didn't
Yeah.
realize there's the underlying piece of I probably should have tied them together, but the underlying piece of needing to get a job to help the family, support. But in general, if the students are here and they're running through, say they come in the 9th or 10th grade, I like to make the analogy that it takes, 3 or 4 years to know the difference between a periodic table and a dinner table, but kind of facetiously, but,
Yeah.
are they getting what they need when they're here?
I believe like our students, like when they come to school, I know a lot of help they get through the teachers after school. Even like they're getting help at the O'Brien Center if they have any problem doing the homework. And when we talk about the food, I know it's a little different, but they're getting healthy food here. Our students started eating, and those who have problem not able to eat here, we also encourage them to bring food from home. They can warm up here in the cafeteria and eat, so they have no problem. Yes.
I would add, I mean, it is something that we have worked on very hard. Kirsten and Leon, when students come in that are high school age, and we talk to them many, many times and kind of say, you know, when you get an assessment of their skills, like, you know, being in high school 4 years when you just came here and you don't you know, have English mastered and academic skills, it's going to take longer than that. Some students then run into, you know, like the social part of, well, I don't want to be in high school longer than the kids I'm friends with. I need to get out and start making money for my family. Those things kind of come together. But I think the good side of that is that we have a system in place where we are talking to students regularly, communicating to their parents, and looking at what the different options are for them. And we know where they are. You know, like I think you alluded to it, Tool. There was years where we were like, wow, we had 4 or 5 Nepali boys drop out one year. You know, and so we really took that seriously and found out, like, where did they go? Why did they leave and not come back? And now we track students every year, and we know that, okay, maybe they decided to go to Vermont Adult Learning, or they had to go to work to support their family, or they're coming back for their 6th year of high school, and that's great.
And then the other one I will leave you with, I probably don't need the answer, but as some of the younger students come up and they've been in the district a while and they do get the English and they do start doing well, the one that bothers me is the financial assistance help. I want to make sure that nothing falls through the cracks when the VSAC folks coming. And Alex, you're a big proponent of making sure that the kids know that these things are available, and there are ways to get help. You know, I just want to make sure that they don't give up on that, because it can be a daunting task. Went through it 5 times. I think I finally figured it out after 5, but it's just not, you know, it's not an easy process.
One piece I think I miss out is like, I think that also is a challenge. Like when children, like little ones, like at home, like before coming to school, they speak a little bit of Nepali, and when they start coming to school, they forget Nepali. So some parents are having problem. Like children are not able to speak Nepali with grandparents. So this is also kind of challenge. We need an interpreter at home also.
The other way.
The other way. Yeah.
That was actually, now that I'm thinking coherently a little bit more, the power shift between children and parents. Is there anything that we can do as a community or even in the schools to help readjust that power shift?
We actually, the liaisons are doing, we are really very much flexible. I know Kirsten has nothing to say about like our flexibility. Like we don't only work inside the school, we go out of the school and also help the parents. So sometimes what happens, like parents, if they need anything, they don't depend always on their children. I know sometimes they don't trust them also. So they call or they come to the school with all the food stamps and Medicaid and all those paperwork. We do help and then fill out the paperwork in the school also.
And I think I was thinking more on like, what can we do for the children? What can we do for on the kids side to kind of, you know, being a child of an immigrant too and trying to learn to respect. And I've gone through those. Are there things that first generation immigrants like us that can come in and work with the children and talk about that bond and being a role model for that, so that it helps with that power shift, you know? That's something that I'd be willing to do, or, you know, get and hear other students who have already gone to college right now to come back and talk about that.
Yes, it's all about making everybody successful here.
Yeah. And
Sure.
thanks a lot.
All right,
Thank
cool.
you.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
Greatly appreciate it. I'll be looking for the invitations to the celebrations.
Okay.
Where will I find them?
I was thinking maybe one day, maybe we'd celebrate in the Winooski school only, maybe Holi. With a color, and all will be invited.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
That would be wonderful.
Did Holy last week at UVM, so I'm
did
really ready to throw it.
You are. Good for you.
You need a little color up there, Mike.
What's it?
You need a little color in your hair.
It actually goes with everything I wear, so it's pretty good. All right. Moving on, public comments. Any? Consent agenda. I would accept a motion to accept the consent agenda as is.
So moved.
Any other discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. So, next piece here then was a discussion around the end statement. And this one is on the agenda mainly for an annual touch to our end statement. It's prominently displayed in pretty much everything we do, see, feel, and touch. When we first put it together, one of the conditions, one of the things that we had talked about was we looked at a lot of different references. Some were prescribed so deeply that they ended up prescribing means as you got down into the end statement. This one we left, I think, purposely high level to see where it would lead us. I think it has done us well so far. I want to ask the question, I guess, does anybody feel the need, the want, anything else to expand it at all? Any
You're talking about the end
thoughts?
statement.
The end statement itself, yeah. This is, I want to touch on it once a year. It should be a living document, even
Yes.
if we leave it living as is, but I want to make sure it's touched.
We went through a lot of interpretations on the end statement, and we covered healthy, college, career, local engagement, global engagement. We have not touched successful, productive. And we'd had a conversation one time we went through having all these conversations was, well, if they are college and career ready, they're healthy, and they are locally and globally engaged, does that mean that they're productive and successful? You know, because we haven't really broken those two criteria. I mean, I think those are sort of, that's the meat of the end statement too, connected to the other things that we're saying that these students will walk away from our district doing. What are we doing about productive and successful? How are we defining that and interpreting it for ourselves? Since that is the statement upon which we govern. And do we need to dive into productive and successful?
We've been deep into college.
But they're in
and
there.
career.
We haven't really touched them. Because on top of that, what I'd like to add is that we have done a lot of digging into what we're saying we want our kids to graduate with after they leave our district. You know, we did some good work around that.
Thoughts?
So I appreciate this exercise because it should be a living document. Having seen the end statement in practice a few different times recently, I'm struck by how kind of nicely balanced it is. So even though I recognize we could dig into some of the nuance of healthy and productive, I'm a little worried that it might dilute kind of the power of these two impactful sentences.
You mean in terms of measurement, or
What are we talking about? Operational
Clarifying.
definition of the statement, or like changing the statement itself?
not changing the statement? Is we looked into the words. We went down into the meaning of what does it mean to be college and career ready? What does it mean to be locally and globally engaged? What does it mean to be healthy? To help us measure what we were saying we were going to do. So, do we need to do that for successful and productive? You know, do we need to figure out what does that mean to us, and therefore how are we measuring that we're, since they're in there, do we need to do it to those words or not do it to those words? That was my question about this living document. Because again, I do think we did a great job with the other clarifiers in that, you know, sentence, those two sentences. That's my question.
I think it's a good question, and productive and successful is one of those hard ones to answer because it's actually more interpersonal. It's just self-reflection. And when I think about, and I actually asked this question a lot of my own college students, I said, like, you know, when I advise them, I really only have one question for you to answer at the end of your 4 years college. And it's a simple question. It's what makes you happy? And because I think college development is actually about learning about who you are and learning what makes you happy, so that I don't actually hear at some point in your life that you say that college was the best day of your lives, because the best day of your life should be the next day. because you're productive. And so when I think about the productive and successful, and I think about all the cultural presentations that we have, I actually think about, but productive and successful is like, how much do we do interpersonal stuff where we allow students to actually discover who they are? Proficiency-based education, and the beauty of it, and about teaching people how to be lifelong learners, it's actually helping them find their passion. And I gotta admit, I actually don't know about the curriculum, how much do we have in terms of the self-reflection component of it. But I think if we start kind of monitoring that self-reflection on a community base, I think that's essentially our metric. It's not the most beautiful metric, but I think it speaks true to the lane of the curriculum that we're designing. Like, I don't think I was as excited to hear when we heard, and I apologize that I don't know if our board of student trustee has announced where she's going to college, but I was excited to hear that it was her first choice. Right? It wasn't, and I would have been happy with any college that she wanted, but it was her first choice, that she found her love, that she could see herself there. And that is actually meaning that she actually had a deep reflection about who she is and where she wants to be. Because if we try to actually define productive and successful, we'll be here forever.
It's individual. It's very individual.
Right.
I think the last time, Tori, I think you hit on it too, that we kind of came out to the fact that the productive and successful is an outcome of the others, but it ends up being in an individual, a very individualized way. Sean, you looked over your left shoulder here at some point in that conversation. Was there that effort to see if there was something?
No,
somewhere
that
of
was,
self-reflection, or
I
do you
wanted
have
to
a
make
twit?
sure that we were getting what Alex was saying about the self-reflection piece, but I wrote it down myself because I think that's something that would be really interesting for the board to see. So I was thinking about how could we help you see that in action, either in board meetings or other opportunities that happen in the school throughout the year.
Because we know that healthy also means that you are being able to live out who you are and to expand in that. So it's your relationship with yourself. And that came out in, I feel like in our physical, emotional, and well-being, and well-being, we really rounded out that identity piece of being able to allow people, our students to find their passion, find their identity, and being successful and productive in who they are as people, right? And living that out. It is the most essential thing.
So I think what I'm gathering, Margaret, any thoughts? Because I think what I'm gathering is it sounds like the end statement itself, as is probably good as it sits.
And as
No
it's
real urgency to change anything in there. Defining it more deeply or understanding how it's from the productive and successful piece. Just understanding how that's living and breathing. Does that lend itself to a focus on learning section? I don't know if that even comes in, or is it a live presentation, just the Jan Po and the June Po and direct observation, right? To see how the kids are.
Yeah, and there's a lot more opportunities than just that too. There's with the expeditions going on and project-based learning at the elementary. There's plenty of different. It's a matter of making that a
required event, so to speak.
Yeah, pulling it all together so that we get it to you in time that you can plan to go, and yeah.
That's one thing that we had talked about early on in this whole framework of policy governance, and that is, with Sean's interpretations of the policies that we give, we have the option to go and see. Just, okay, show me. I understand what you told me, but show me. In this case, we haven't really gotten into, and I know, Alex, you've done a lot more probably than most, and that is to go see the presentation, see the growth year to year, witness the proficiencies at different levels as they go through these presentations. And that may be our way of doing that measurement, us going to it rather than it coming to us in a more natural environment. Maybe a focus of our retreat topic discussion on how do we get deeper into that. Can talk about that a little bit later on.
Great.
Or something with Val next month too.
Or
On
something
the
with-
community engagement.
Yep.
The statement's also alive in the superintendent report, the way that you break the goals down and support each of those. Yeah, yeah.
You need to read about it. It'd be a lot more fun to. Yeah, I was thinking about other ways too, because sometimes it's not easy to come in the middle of the day and see something, but can we do more to document those events and share
Right.
them either publicly or, with you guys and.
Winooski's got talent
And
under a
with-
different name.
Yeah.
Right.
Get the community
And
in
with
here
from
to
Forum,
Alex's point.
we've always talked about some of those
Right.
expos being
Yep.
public,
Yep.
it's with permission from the person who's speaking.
Right.
But being able to highlight what's really happening in the school, because again, that summit did bring a lot of people into what's happening in our schools and how our students are able to present, question, inform in really powerful ways.
As a teaser for something,
Just a
something
teaser.
different,
It was
right?
just a little something. Yeah, so
better,
that was good.
broader, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And there is, like I said, and I've been thinking a lot about the school bond vote that passed, and having sat out there for a long time out there and listening to all the things, but that productive and successful lives of being able to hear and engaging the larger community at large, I'm hoping that with the new PULC, we bring in the community, bring in the seniors, citizens, that, find ways to bring them in, to see what it means that they're here, because once again, they made it. In some ways, a lot of people thought they essentially made the school bond vote a choice between senior citizens and children. In one sense, in how we were voting, and that in the no's, and really, if you hear the common theme among us, we say that the school is the heart of the community. The heart of the community means it's supposed to be beat for all. For the senior citizens, and I think if we can get to see the productive and successful lives, and what's the amazing part about these expos, if you do get to go, is that you're not going to see that they're just lifelong learners, but we're teaching them to be teachers, and there's opportunities for all to learn too, and those senior citizens will benefit. All citizens, I don't mean senior citizens, but all community members can learn from them. So, and I think that is a mark of productive and successful lives.
Good. Anything else? We will touch that again in a year, unless something comes up.
Or maybe over their board retreat.
Yeah.
Well, we touched the specific piece. All right, into executive limitations, treatment of students, parents, guardians, and community. This one, never a subtle one here, but any,
It hasn't changed much.
okay.
We've been, I think this is like the fourth time that we've done this one.
Yep. Any comments? Thoughts? Agree compliance down through with what you see for the interpretations? All right. All right, so,
Looks like a lot of compliance.
yes. So I would, well, that one, that we were gonna, that's a approval. Yeah, there we go, sorry.
It can
I would
be,
accept-
yeah.
Yep, I will accept a motion to approve the superintendent monitoring report for policy 2.1, treatment of students, parents, guardians, and community.
So moved.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, asset protection, Rebecca. Ready? Here's finally solved,
Bill is
got to the end of our water main
Adventure? Can we call it an
adventure.
adventure?
I'm sad that we don't have a hockey rink.
Hockey rink, so.
Wanted that hockey rink.
Is that included in the capital project?
So I'll kick us off in that in your packet, you in 7B, you had the letter from Rebecca summarizing everything. And after many sessions of negotiations, we were able to land on that final invoice, which we thought was a fair financial assessment of the work. And we are making the suggestion to the board that, given our current financial health in the final quarter of the current fiscal year, that the board could use up to $25,000 from the operating budget toward that 99,000, so that we don't have to take as much out of the capital reserve, and holding that at a little bit higher level for the future. That is a board decision. And then Rebecca goes on to talk about the reimbursement aid that we have submitted for, both on this current invoice and the prior one that's down in the other notes of interest. Can I get it all?
Got it all. Thank you for your work on this.
Yes. That's,
It's quite a learning experience.
we all have them, for sure.
Exactly.
I heard they're going to recruit you for the main pipeline.
John Roshner and I were having a conversation last night.
So a couple of things in here then. I think one of them we have to do is to approve the monies to pay the
Out of the
final
capital.
invoice off, right? The other piece, though, is what I hadn't seen in here is the 74,000 out of the capital and 25 out of the general fund. I'm assuming the 25 is because of the reimbursement from that VisBit,
No, it'll be from
Agency of Ed.
the Agency of Ed.
and that's the 30%-ish number.
It'll be a little bit more, but I'm recommending it out of the general fund because we had some changes in our special ed, which has allowed us to have a little more flexibility and to kind of offset and kind of protect the reserve account if we can.
okay.
And then any money that we get from the construction aid, we've talked before, the last 2 times when you've approved that money will go directly back into the reserve account.
So in this proposal, we would be asking you for permission to take 74,000 from the capital reserve, 25 from the current year operating budget, pay off the 99 grand invoice. You'll also apply for the aid, and then when we receive that, that would go back into the capital reserve account. So in essence,
So
you
we'll
net
take
out
50
at
out.
50. Yeah.
What is the benefit of doing the 25 out of the operating budget? Because it's there and to preserve for the work we're going to be doing on the design and
I mean, we've kind
Work.
of, we've really taken a hit in the reserve account. I think it's at a number that, you know, is not as healthy as I think it should be at. And this is just an effort to preserve that for longer. Because we know that if we do have any fund balance, it goes to the regular fund balance. You can always ask the voters to move it to the reserve account if you'd like. But we also know that the fund balance that we have is healthy as well in the event that we have something like this or a special ed situation, or we have an extraordinary year for our HRAs. And as we're getting towards the end of the year, the HRA balances are going to probably hit right about where we projected, within a couple %. So I feel better about that now this time of year than you do necessarily in November. And once again, we've had some special ed students that have either graduated early or have moved out of district. And we haven't had to, we've kind of held that aside, you know, because you never know what's going to happen. But this time of the year, you're also feeling more comfortable that you pretty much know where you're at.
Okay. And as we saw in the last FMR, the last time around, there were the swings in that special ed can be pretty radical, so to speak. Yeah, no, they're radical.
And the other
So
reason there's a little
as long
bit
as
of
you're comfortable on that
And
piece.
using some of that to pay for this, I feel comfortable with because we had some staffing changes in our facility department, and there was some net savings there, and it took a while to hire. So
Okay.
I think it would be advantageous for us to hold on to the reserve account for a little bit.
Any other questions? All right. So the motion here would be to approve the fund, the 99,000 to ASE in the manner described as 74 out of the reserve account and 25 out of the general operating budget.
So moved.
Any other discussion? All right, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? We do. The motion? Yep. So the motion is to accept the recommendation to pay the $99,000 to ASE for the work on the water main and utilize $74,000 out of the capital reserve and 25 out of the general operating budget. I'm glad she's typing it, not me. It taking 20 minutes longer. All right. Did we vote on that? I lost track of
We
what it
did.
was. Okay, good.
We're good.
Sorry. Been a long week.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Okay.
you.
We do have, I want to take care of this. We'll pass it around. This is
I'll just,
I got to sign part of it, but this is a warrant for that particular
yeah, I didn't
piece.
put this with all the
different
other
from all the
warrants because
others.
I wanted to make sure we talked about it first. but
We had
that's
to approve it first,
construction
so
application.
we'll move that through.
I can get you guys to sign off on this, so I'm gonna move on.
Absolutely.
I'm gonna
Yeah,
move on
just
home.
start it on the end here. Just need 3, so.
Thank you. Appreciate you doing that now.
Rebecca, thank you. Okay, good, thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
3.
Well, capital project update. Not much to update at this point. I think the news is the news.
There you go.
Just a couple of reflections, I think, other than the committee doing, all of the heavy lifting up front, understanding what it was we need, what would that look like, how would we do that to take the form of what we finally had. One of the things that concerned me the most was getting the word out into the community and get enough word out to say that we actually got, people knew what was going on. You're never going to get everybody. The hardest part for me was understanding how do you get to the 20-somethings and how do you get to the 80-somethings and everybody in between. I think we had everything. We touched everything at one point or another. 7 days, the free press, all 3 radio stations, our friend Colin here. Twitter, Facebook, I think Instagram might have been not something that's right off the top, but you got to have subscriptions to get in with people. So, 714 people came out. That to me was, I think that was a huge success in getting that many people out for a May vote. Last year for Main Street and the pool was under 500. So, a little more passion. It was obviously a big dollar item, no doubt. But, it will generate its own passion. Some concerns about the no signs. To me, that is just purely an indication that somebody's paying attention. That's all their thing. You want no, you got no. I mean, that's why we're here. And to have Tool with a bunch of people going out to vote, that's just, and to have, what do we got in the city? 3,000, 2,500 registered voters, maybe more?
That's it?
7,000 total.
Closer to
so
4,000, maybe.
About half.
We have 700 people show up to vote, So I want to thank you guys for all the
Don't thank
help
us.
and the attention as we went through, so.
Thank Mike and Alex
Me.
for the volume of presentations they did. The quality of that presentation was amazing. Sean and Rebecca were here all those nights. You gave the community a chance to make an informed decision, and you should feel really good about that.
You
Yeah,
came
but
to
you-
the last one.
And it was
Yeah, polished.
fantastic. It was.
Thank you.
And Sean for running a great process.
Yes.
Yes.
From the
Yep.
beginning, and
Thanks.
keeping wellness and engagement and kids at the center of it. It was
Have
a
a-
really thoughtful, well-executed plan. Well done.
I think part of the reason, in retrospect, I think why it worked so well was just we had a great group and great representation, teachers who were really passionate and thoughtful, and went out and talked to their colleagues about it, and so you always run the risk of something like this of people feeling like it's done in isolation and it's a top-down kind of thing, and it felt like it was pretty inclusive.
Yeah.
And I give a lot of credit to our committee who put a lot of time and effort into developing the message, developing the concepts, and seeing it through.
I will say our best presentation for me was the 2 6th grade girls that came. Gave them the full ride. And now, are you ready for the hard part?
Yep.
Okay. That was the easy part.
Oh, we have to build it now.
Well, there's
a few
getting
steps
from here to
before
there. Anything
Yeah,
else on
two.
that? From-
One or two. No, I mean, one other thing I would say is obviously there was a number of community members and parents who, whether it was Front Porch Forum or other ways, really expressed support for the board, for the school, for the project, and that is, it's very heartening to hear that. Liz and Mark Etzel,
Very
would
much
just
so.
want to give them a very specific shout out. New to our community, not even a year, moved here for the school district, and jumped right in and went out and met people and canvassed and called and did their research and really injected a lot of energy and hope into the process for me and for others, and it was just wonderful to see that.
Yeah, and everyone else that got involved.
I also wanted to thank Amy Snow Lothrop. I hope I pronounced her name correctly, but she came out and joined for 2 hours and helped with the passion out there and really showed out there. I mean, I don't want to be the Debbie Downer, but, and one of the things, but I think we got to be careful of some backlash that comes out and kind of like, and some of it is that I don't want to say that we don't hear the no's. There were legit concerns, so we got to make sure that when we do the communications about the fundraising, and when we do the fundraising, we bring it back to the community and show them that we were serious about those moments as lessons learned. And then for all the no's who told me that we should have been putting money into the deferred maintenance budget, I think there's an education on what fiscal responsibility means, and fiscal responsibility is not just cutting the budget, but saying that we're making these decisions so that proactively we can care for the future. And I don't mean, I really know that we should be celebrating, and I apologize for that, but there was another half that voted no, and there's a lot of them that, and I think we did a great job for those the senior citizens who came in and said, hey, about the fixed income, but when they heard our presentation, I think we helped a lot with them, but it was the other group that didn't hear it. And we got to figure out still messaging on that level so that we, like I said, show that we heard. We don't have to necessarily do everything and go backwards, but they need to see this great community that we all have had a chance to see, and really think thoughtfully about that.
I think that was pretty much a common theme I heard through both the sessions that we did here and standing out in the parking lot at St. Stephen's was, why didn't we plan ahead, and have this money ready when these things were needed? And I think, at least looking back on the 8 years I've been on the board, the focus has always been, keep the budgets low, pay the teachers. You go through the negotiations, you got to do all of that, and that's going to dictate part of it. We've seen that our budgets don't necessarily line up, our spending increases don't line up with the tax changes. We've seen them both ways, so it's a little bit movable. One of the things I want to talk about during the budget session next year is a line item in there. It's obviously a bad time because everything will be new, but yeah, at least get the discussion started on how do you put a line item in there that will be able to replace the new roof when it's ready, the new boiler when it's ready. Do those upgrades. That's not necessarily a next year thing, but I want to make sure that discussion is in hand each time we do the budget. So it's hard though, because if you get 10 years down the road and halfway through a new roof and you've got half of the money for a new roof in a line item, you're going to have, and a new boiler, you're going to have half of your budget sitting there waiting for this to happen. People are going to wonder, why are you sitting on that money? And this is the reason that we sit on that money, because if you do it all at once, it's expensive,
And remember with the
but required.
prior budgets, we were doing so well with managing our money that we were having big capital reserve transfers. And there we had to answer questions about that because we did have money for boilers. We didn't have to go out for bonds. We were taking care of the facility through the capital reserve.
Not quite enough, but there
But
was,
enough,
there was
we,
some there.
yeah, we didn't have to go out for things
But
like that.
question.
So,
But, and that was 500,000 and we were being
Right.
questioned.
Right,
I'm
right.
talking this, you'd have to be out toward 10, 12 million.
Hard to say.
Well, as you go along, you know, you can put them away a little early, but it's again, a big piece of money, so.
No, and so that was like kind of the final. I mean, this was probably standing out there for 12 hours, probably the best way to do community engagement and hear about the community, right? And so I apologize for bringing it out, but like it's going to be fresh in my mind. And so the two other things that I just mentioned, it is the notion of what is a Winooski citizenship. I think we really need to get our, once again, promote some of the stuff so that the people can see that these are Winooskis, that we're actually hoping to create a good school so that they will stay in town. I think the one voter that I actually changed was when he said, like, back in the day when I was in school here, it was a good school and that's what made me stay. And so it's like, why is that not true of today? And I think in some ways, it was like there's this disconnect when they leave the school that they forget that we are educating the students for tomorrow, that they're really the citizens of Winooski. So the students that we're educating today are the Winooski citizens for tomorrow. And they need to get in their heads, because I face way too many people asking me, are you a Winooski resident? Are you a landowner? Do you pay, and it's tiring, legitly tiring, and frustrating. But and I can't imagine if I'm feeling this, what our students are feeling. So we as a community, as leaders in this community, we need to step out and start saying, what the hell are you talking about? And catch them on those statements. Because if we don't, what we build up and what we do in this school, they will leave. So make sure that we do that. And then on just a positive, I'm so glad that we got this passed, and I hope you share this with the students, that the community did care. The community, and they do matter to us. And if you need any of us to come in and say that, because that's what made this bond vote so special. So, thank you, everybody.
Anything else? I don't think that could have been a better discussion. The only other item we had under 7 was the acceptance of the teacher nomination as was handed out to you. I would accept a nomination to accept this teacher nomination, a motion, sorry. Hey,
They knew what you meant.
but, I know, but Brenda's gonna call me on it in a minute.
I was gonna say, I
Would ex-
kind of go ahead and I did put her name in it.
All right. I would accept the motion to accept the nomination of Hannah Handloff.
So moved.
All right, any other discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? All right, section 8, student report, class for Destiny, and thank you, Rebecca.
Thanks, Rebecca.
And music
For Sophia.
for Sophia.
Yep.
So all the better. Busy at the end of the year, we
And
certainly
Sophia just wanted me to pass on
understand
to you that she and Destiny are on the process to have a new rep for you in June. They'll be doing that through community meeting this Friday, I believe, or next Friday, and then application process and all of that like we've done in the past. So we should have a new recommendation for you at the June meeting.
Were you able to follow up on the concern that the students brought up last month at the last school board?
Yes, I know. I wish she was here to talk about that because I don't want to speak with her because speak for her. I was not in the meeting. I did follow up with Leon and there was a meeting.
Okay, I mean, as long as I can
Yep.
deal with that,
Yep.
can you make sure
Can-
that it's on the agenda next?
Can we
Yep.
get it, and hopefully, it was Destiny, or
It was Sophia.
Sophia will be
Yeah.
here
Yep.
to talk to her.
Yep.
Okay. And I appreciate the not having it the second, that's the student voice
Yes,
that we
is the
want.
Yep.
but I do want to make sure we remember.
Okay, yep, thank you. Those are the hard ones to keep. All right, legislative update. I know it's been getting down toward the wire here. anything stand out to you that?
I highlighted a few things. I shared the link in there to the latest legislative, basically the lead bill, that they're requiring all schools, childcare facilities test for lead in every fixture that may carry drinking water. And that deadline for sampling and testing is January 1 through the end of 2020. So that'll be coming. There is some level of reimbursement through the Vermont Department of Health for different types of fixtures. It will not cover the full cost, obviously, of all of that. They're still working on that, but that was a big one that they spent a lot of time on. It is still, the House Ed Committee is wants to add to the miscellaneous bill the school facilities working group. So that's about getting construction reimbursement back into legislation that we were lobbying for. And then they are looking at a recommendation from the Business Manager Association, VASBO, to extend the deadline for the district data management system transition, which had business managers in a tizzy. There was just a lot of change going on between Act 173, which was special ed changes, the chart of accounts, and then this data management system. So it looks like they're gonna kind of change some of those deadlines and spread it out a little bit, which is good news.
The data systems, that's the one we adopted earlier. Is that part of it?
Excuse me.
Is that part of what we approved earlier? Is
No, so that was a student management system.
Okay, that's
So
more local.
Yep, so this is how we're gonna get all of our local data into the state
Okay,
and what that looks like.
all right. Anything else from anybody?
That's it.
So last item here, board retreat date. We're gonna meet in June. We typically take July off. Our retreats historically, at least the first 4 or 5 years that I was here, we did our retreats in August. And instead of our August meeting, it got to be a hard piece to get with the end of the summer vacation and the beginning of school when the teachers are getting the administrative team with us. I think they are a critical component of our retreat as we look both backwards and forward. So we've done the last couple of years, we've done that retreat in September, having then 2 meetings in September, typically about a week off, one Wednesday and a Saturday. So just thoughts on dates and timing for the retreat itself. We could talk about the content here as we go. I think we got at least one topic here. But any other thoughts? You guys, vacation times in August? Is August even an option? Anybody got any real hard stops in August?
It's fine. I think the September date was in relation to the staff being more available at that time, though, right? Is that...
Yeah, I mean, it's hard for I usually tell my leadership team July and the first part of August, everybody go and do their vacations and get recharged, because we're starting, teachers come back this year on August 19th, and we're usually together as a team for close to 2 weeks, getting prepared and everything. So that's why I had asked the board in the past to kind of move it into, let us get the doors open and get moving, and then go from there. And then usually we have the Labor Day weekend. So we had, the last couple of years, I think we've done it like the Saturday after Labor Day,
Right.
or 2 weeks after, something like that.
Yeah.
So looking at the calendar, Labor Day is on September 2nd, so we could...
And our board meeting, our regular board meeting will be on the 11th.
On the 11th,
Yeah.
right. So you have the 7th and the 14th.
So,
Selfishly, I like it in September and August only because, to be fair to your team, I don't think you get all the tests and the survey data back. I mean, and I like having that data to be, part of our session.
It's hard for us to pull that all together in early
So September
August.
makes sense.
Yeah.
So let's go with September.
Yeah.
And if we're gonna be data driven,
Right.
I really like looking at that data, and I do make you go through some ringers in looking at the data and
Yeah.
different perspectives,
That's good.
but I think it's healthy for us to do it and
Yeah.
to have it without the data.
Right.
Is the 7th too early? Would it be best
Yeah,
to do like
I mean,
14,
if I,
21?
it's your decision, obviously. If I had my druthers, it would be the 14th, yes.
So that would have us meeting on the 11th Wednesday, and then on the 14th for the retreat itself.
Yeah, so, but then that's for you guys. That's
Together
a Wednesday
time.
and Saturday.
No, right? That's some serious bonding.
We haven't bonded enough.
But we gave you July off, so. And August.
All right, so shall we go with 14?
I'm good with the 14th. One more week and I'm out, so yeah, it can't be any further than that.
It's like, not out of this place.
No.
I'm supposed
No,
to
no,
be
no,
clear
no.
about that.
Road trip with Jill and I, so.
Good.
Right, any obvious?
14th.
Yeah, any obvious
And that's sort of
issues?
like a 1 to, I mean, an 8 to.
8 to noon?
9 since it's on a Saturday, but,
Give you 8:30 if you go to 2.
yeah, that's true. It's better to get out early, isn't it? 8 to 1. Okay.
8 to 1.
Ish, yeah.
Something about
we'll-
that. We
we'll
gotta,
refine.
8:30.
yeah, we gotta get agenda and,
So
yeah, 8:30 will work.
Yeah, let's put the brakes on the 8 o'clock right there.
We'll settle on the
Break our
exact
necks
time as we
in.
go along. Depending. I'll bend. I had 6:30 in mind, but that ain't gonna. All right. That was just a test.
Okay.
Community engagement, I think we've had our
Fill of it?
fill here for at least the near term, but we did learn a lot, I think.
Well, on a
Hopefully.
celebratory, the jazz concert was really good. It was,
Awesome.
Those are nice.
it was really nice to go to that, so thank you. And I brought my mom, and she enjoyed it, so.
Oh, that's awesome. All right.
The other piece, I was going to say, the other piece before we close, I wanted to make sure that we got the newsletter topics. That wasn't in here, but Margaret.
Yes, for me.
That's it's got to be due. If it hasn't come out, it'll be next week, I think.
Yeah.
Ann will be coming out pretty quick. And then we have the one mid-June for July. I can tell you. I have it somewhere.
She said Ann said you tell me what to say.
Yeah.
I wrote her, I was like, what? She's like, ask Mike, he'll tell you what to say.
He'll write it for you and just make it.
So, yeah, just, I've got Matt mid-June for July.
Okay.
So you'll be next. Just thinking back on my first one, it was more personal reflections on things so far, kind of
You've got summer, we're celebrating the.
Have you done an introduction?
There's nothing specific, right? I mean, I
No,
think this
I
last
don't.
one.
I think
Because
this one
we've been pretty
here,
steady about specific topics to sort of build towards this capital project and all that. But no, that's,
right, and I think the first one is just a lot of an introductory. I think before you Ann ran a little bit of a bio about you. But I think maybe a little bit more about you and your interest in the board and your reflections so far. Doesn't have to be huge. Sean
a
will take up
perspective
the
of what you've
slack.
noticed thus far. You know, like what you've experienced so far.
And it doesn't have to be deep, huge. It doesn't have to be 3 pages long in the newsletter.
It will
Just-
not be,
Ann will fit it in.
I will assure you, it will not be.
I'm good.
Yeah, no.
I mean, to say, you've done a lot of great work with the students.
Yeah.
And is it publicly known who's speaking at our high school graduation?
But it is as of yesterday.
Congratulations, by the way.
Congratulations.
Very
It is
impressive.
of now.
I mean,
Congratulations.
is it condolences or is it congratulations to you? But, I mean, to have the students come out and invite you
It's great.
is great, and I'm truly touched. And you don't know how many
Me too.
other
Yeah, yeah.
community members have said, like, hey, you know Margaret? Like, yeah. And so,
Not from here, but
Congratulations. That's great.
Thank you.
Yeah. it's
And then,
an honor to be asked
just in the interest of
is.
helping each other out, if Matt has the mid-June deadline for the July, any specific topics there
What do you wanna
that,
start on?
I don't know if you have, Matt, if you have anything that
I
you.
mean, I got some ideas, but maybe we'll check back in the next meeting in case something's bubbled up by
Okay,
then, but
that-
obviously.
Right, and the issue that comes up when we do our June meeting is your deadline is like Saturday, so if you're good, you're good. If you're, we can
Ann and I have
poke you along at that point.
Ann and I have a pretty constant communication flow.
All right, that sounds good. I just want to make sure that nobody goes last minute blank, because I've been there, done that. All right, good. Let's see, with that, what else have we got? Upcoming dates. Our board chair and superintendent training next week. We're in, right? We should all ride down together. First one that talks school board anything walks. Be simple. Keep the
Who wants to
rules.
do that?
That's, there
Talk
you
about
go.
school board stuff.
Yeah.
So how long's the drive?
The drive is an hour and
Hour.
3/4.
It's
And karaoke songs.
Mamma mia.
Charge the headphones.
Here I go again.
All right.
All the way down.
I'll
all
take
the
a
way
pill.
down. We're doing ABBA, people.
I'll take a pill
Sometimes
so I
you
can
just
get
lose control.
melatonin so I can
Melatonin.
sleep.
So, I don't mind driving. We can set some points of contact. I mean, picking you guys all up take about 8 minutes, so we can talk about what and where. I'll be in touch. Let's see, there's a spring conference for the Superintendent Association as well. Middle high school Pops concert, May 30th. Our next regular board meeting, June 12th. And graduation on the 15th, speaking of which. I'll be there. All right, anything else? We do have an executive session this evening with a grievance hearing and personal mediation update. So with that, I
Quick
yeah,
break
I would
for
take a 3-minute break, but I would accept a motion to move into executive session.
So moved.
All those in favor?
Woohoo.
Opposed?
Is it
Okay,
who count?
3 minutes.
Are you inviting anybody into your executive session?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
I'll put it in there. Don't worry about it. Yep.
All right.